into his deck to fight Gristlebrand with Show and Tell. But the other part of it was that he was realizing as he was playing, he would look at the board all the time, and his opponent would have things like Tarmogoyf or whatever out there, and he'd have 4 Elves out. And he was like, you know, these guys are all 1/1s anyway. What if everybody was 1/1s? I've got more things than he has.
All right, so turn 1 Findhorn Elves from Caleb Durward. That's going to get swords immediately, and correctly, should be. It's possible he kept a very land-light hand. He does have Dryad Arbor, but remember, it can't tap for mana on the first turn, and he'll make Quirion.
Quirion Dryad is one of my favorite cards of all time. The tricks it can do with a single mana source of some kind, like say that Dryad Arbor, are actually pretty impressive.
Or that Priest of Titania in his hand.
Oh, that's kind of dirty.
Well, he'll probably drop Priest next turn. If he untaps with Priest, we'll win. Or something close to it.
I mean, he could just have turbo nothing draw. Ooh, wow, look at that.
The G-Tape, yep, turn 2, he's Stoneforging for G-Tape. If the G-Tape gets counters on it, it's usually game over for Caleb.
Caleb's main deck ways to handle an Umezawa's G-Tape is 1 Viridian Shaman.
Yep, that's pretty standard. 1 Viridian Shaman, 4 Green Sun Zenith.
Priest. If he, what does that Quirion Ranger do?
If you return a forest, you may untap a green creature.
That's right. I was mimicking what Joe was saying when
Yeah.
he picked it up. And he returns a forest, untaps the Dryad Arbor, lays that forest down again, plus 2 mana for the turn. Thank you, Quirion Ranger.
Probably a little Visionary here, see if he can get another mana. Maybe Nettle Sentinel, but probably just Visionary. Being mana efficient, it seems to me to be more important.
We'll see. Does he agree? Oh, Quirion Ranger. There was a time you were in the top 10 1-drops of all time. Elvish Visionary.
Draws a card. Probably not a land. Maybe, hopefully it would be a land, but that's very wishful thinking.
Next turn, Priest of Titiana, minimally, without doing any more work.
No, he already did that.
He already
Can't
did
do
that.
it again.
Yeah. Without doing any more work, can produce 3 6 mana. Now that's without anything helping it out, like one of the elves in Caleb's hand. This means that Caleb has access to a minimum of 9 mana next turn.
And the
Swords,
sword, that's,
never mind.
Swords plus dropping G-Tape here is very powerful for Joe Bernal. So what Caleb will have to do is play some sort of elf.
Actually, one thing to think about.
If he has
block with Arbor Elf, bounce it with Quirion.
Bounce the Dryad Arbor?
Bounce the
Right.
Dryad Arbor
works that way too.
That's what I meant to
Your
say.
typical defense to it, and that's actually a very good defense. Your typical defense is to play Wirewood Symbiote to deny G-Tape counters. But the Ranger in tandem with the Dryad Arbor can also do that.
And Findhorn and anything else?
Nettle.
And another Quirion Ranger. Okay. Wow. Go. Here comes the G-Tape.
That's fine. Like you said,
yep.
Barring a Swords to Plowshares, a third one, this should be fine. A third one will be very bad for Caleb.
Lingering Souls, that makes the dodging on the
now
Dryad Arbor.
So now he's telling Joe that Caleb has to win this turn now.
It's doable. He's gonna need a top deck. Alternately, he could do a Green Sun Zenith for 3 if he has one. What did you draw, Caleb? Visionary, Nettle Sentinel, and I couldn't catch that last card. Visionary, Nettle Sentinel. Slow down, Joe. All right, slow down, Caleb. Mirror Entity.
So with Mirror Entity,
Mirror Entity on the table.
he does not have any loops currently with Mirror Entity in play.
Return Savannah to Quirion Ranger to untap the Arbor. Dryad Arbor.
Recast. The first Quirion Ranger has been used. So he has 3 mana available. He doesn't, like I said, he still doesn't have actually a combo in play.
He can make 4 mana with a little bit more work, but
Yep. Keep in mind, Mirror Entity usually is not just a value swing. Usually Mirror Entity is used to combo in the deck. It works in tandem with Wirewood Symbiote to create a fair number of infinite combos.
Chris Anderson is a huge Mirror Entity attacker. I've watched him drop the entity and just kill people so many times. It's awesome. But I mean, ultimately, it can do that. It's fine for doing that. But you really like that combo-rific symbiote Mirror Entity plan. And we equip with the Spirit in the air. Here it comes. Take 1 and 2 counters now on the Jite.
I'm having 4 mana up here. Caleb can protect himself from Jite if Joe Bernal tries to use it aggressively, but once that Jite gets 4 counters on it, next turn that option won't be there. Even so, with it set up as it is, Caleb trying to combo or do something very impressive through this is very difficult. A hand with a sword, with double swords Mystic, 3 lands from Bernal will be very hard for Caleb to defeat. So draw here from Caleb, and the draw was, it looks like a Llanowar Elf, I believe. I'm going to return and start creating mana here.
And he's marking the Quirion Ranger as having used its ability by turning it upside down. 1 mana. 2 mana total.
Yeah, so what he's going to try to do then is he still needs to find one of the mana elves, be it Birchlore or Heritage, or possibly a Wirewood Symbiote would work here too. And he's going to have to get there with Elvish Visionary. He doesn't have too much leeway to do this. The Jite is going to get him pretty quickly.
Visionary.
Yep, that's the last draw.
He got
another land. That's not going to cut it. The Jite is probably just going to massacre his team.
It's not a massacre yet.
When he goes to activate the Jite, if he tries to activate the Mirror Entity, the Jite will get to kill 2 things.
Nettle Sentinel. He can make 4 mana still. Right now, from this position, 3 mana plus an untap for 4 mana. And Joe has to be careful. Caleb is setting up here for a potential swing that's very potent.
So yeah, if he activates to go for a swing, he can make his guys 3s, I believe.
4s. He's got 4 mana.
Well, yeah, but he's going to lose 2 of them.
I mean, he's got 4 mana now.
What Joe can do here is attack with the Spirit.
Yep.
Get 4 counters on it, and then 1 at a time, try to kill Mirror Entity 4 times right now. That will take most of Caleb's outs out of this out.
We're gonna see Bob.
You want
Dark
to save some number of counters in case Caleb drops. You know, Caleb's hand is Glimpse Heritage Druid. You can't really let that happen.
And Lingering Souls and Dark Confidant.
Okay, Bernal's in. I would, during my main phase here, during my turn, if you want to kill Mirror Entity, you should do it now. So yeah, he's going to go at it once. So Caleb has to tap 2 mana to save it each time. He can't do that very much. He can do it 2 more times off the 2 Quirions. So if Joe wants to kill the Mirror Entity, he's going to have to try to kill it with all 4 counters.
1 mana in pool. Thinking about it. 1 mana in pool. Return this.
To untap that. Mm-hmm. I suppose he actually only has 1 more time to do it. That's my mistake on there, but...
2
Activates
again.
it for 2.
Untap it. 3 mana in pool. That uses both the Quirions.
So he's activating it for 3 this time?
Yep.
Okay.
It's being killed in response. 1 left.
I don't specifically see the point of putting it up to 3. Misty Rainforest, that's really not going to do it. Caleb now with a fistful of lands.
Caleb scoops it on up.
Yep. GT gets him, Joe Bernal gets the first game. Alright, so post board, there are 2 parishes in Joe's board. Those are clearly coming in.
It seems monstrous for Caleb.
There's an extra engineered explosives, which is also very good, and a path to exile, which I would also use.
I think that Caleb is going to bring in his own Umazawa's Jite, just as a Jite fighter.
Jite defense, absolutely.
Do you like Thalia?
Not particularly. Joe's biggest threat is your Jite and Creed Stoneforge. What we just saw there with Jite is how Joe plans to win. That's how you beat the Elf deck, is out of Stoneblade, is you get counters on a Jite. That doesn't really stop that plan.
Do you like Mortar Pod?
I do like Mortar Pod, absolutely.
Okay. Mortar Pod makes it hard to use the Jite the first time.
Mortar Pod.
Almost all of Joe's creatures, besides Stoneforge Mystic itself, are X1s. So it can be something that you can use just to off Joe's creatures with your potentially not so useful elves.
Okay, I see.
I'm just throwing out possibilities because I mean there seems like there's a lot of cards in Caleb Durward's sideboard that don't otherwise have much application in this matchup. So Mazavith, another possibility for Umazawa's Jite.
You can use it. I don't. That's for Reanimator.
Well, actually, think about it, though. There's no Wastelands in Joe's style of deck. A Mazavith with 2 crop rotations absolutely answers Jite. There's nothing that Joe can do to stop it then.
Suppose it works then. I don't know. I don't know if he'd side it in, but yeah, you might be right. So he gets
I don't know that he would side it in, but it certainly solves the problem. If Jite is the way you lose, then Mazavith solves it.
Jite is one of the main ways you lose, so that much is true. There also, you should of note, there's a Zealous Persecution in Joe Bernal's deck.
Oh, that's scary.
You can also lose to Dark Confidant in certain, plus some Swords to Plowshares. I still don't. The problem with boarding in Maze is that Maze is a really terrible card in the Elf deck. Outside of, if it's not winning the game, it's being terrible. It's only doing one of the 2.
I don't mind it as a tutor target. I mean, because you've got tutors for it.
Right, and that's why there's a 1 of in there. So maybe he might play that. But yeah, certainly. Oh, that was Mortar Pod you said out of the Elf deck. Oh, no, I don't like Mortar Pod out of the Elf deck.
Okay, there we go. That's what I was curious about.
Oh, no, I thought it was in Bernal's deck.
Oh, no.
Of course you brought in the Mortar Pod from Bernal's deck.
Yeah, Bernal's deck, it's great. But in Caleb's deck, I wasn't sure how you felt about it. Because, I mean, it doesn't stop a Mystic, but it does stop all the other guys.
Correct.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan. I'm joined in the booth by Matthias Hunt. This is the 5th round of the Star City Games Open Series Legacy Open here in St. Louis-ish in Collinsville, Illinois, right across the river from St. Louis. Caleb Durward and Joe Bernal. Caleb, the winner this morning, the champion in the standard portion, hoping to recreate that today.
Yeah, on Pendelhaven.
Oh, ouch.
Pendelhaven Finner Elves and the turn 1 engineered explosives from Joe Bernal. Very strong. Caleb will have to play around this a little bit. If he just doesn't get something like Priest of Titania in play, this should be fine. He can probably play around it. A lot of times, especially in game 2s of Elves, you're not actually trying to combo someone out. You're just... Alright, he's going to go straight for just a glimpse, for a value glimpse here. So Glimpse of Nature, tapping Pinhorn Elves. To play Birchshore Rangers, drawing a card. As Gaia's Cradle at 2. Remember, these can all get wiped. 2 mana, Nettle Sentinel, drawing a card. If he has Heritage Druid, he can keep going. He has one more, so another Nettle Sentinel untapping. He's going to go for a turn 2. All right. I mean, this kind of commitment, you can commit into it, but he's committing straight into the explosives.
Glimpse.
Another Glimpse.
Wow.
So double Glimpse. Another mana for Heritage Druid. He's got a turn 2. 2 draws.
I think Caleb has it.
3 green. Is there another Nettle in there? Visionary, untap, draw 3 cards, 1 green floating. Yeah, feels like he does. 4 green floating. This is Nettle Sentinel. 3 green floating, draw 2. This is done.
One of the things I like about decks like High Tide and decks like Elves, you can actually just practice the deck all by yourself.
Yep.
Just play at home.
Viridian Shaman, the explosives. And Bernal's just
Shows
shooting.
like,
Okay,
that's
all right,
fine,
that
that's
happened.
fine. You got me. Okay, got it.
Elves really not normally a turn 2. It has very few turn 2 draws.
A quiet little smile from Caleb until Joe breaks the ice, and then Caleb lets a laugh fly.
All right, Caleb evens it up. Sometimes combo decks do that. Sometimes they not draw you.
You can see right behind Joe there, Ruben Bressler. I don't know, you play High Tide. Do you enjoy just sitting down with your High Tide deck at an empty table and playing out hands?
I feel like I know how to do that. So I usually like the interactive part of it.
Gotcha. I can just kind of just sometimes enjoy with a combo deck like this, just playing it and watching how beautiful the deck is. Joe Bernal now on the play in Game 3.
Kind of have a soft spot for Elf Combo. Elf Combo was the deck that I took to my first ever PTQ top 8 back when it was in Extended. So I don't play it all that much sense, but I always still, that was the Curio build. But, I was like, I don't know. I've always been fond of the deck, I guess, from that.
I think the first time I played Elves in a PTQ, it was in an era when you could play when you were already qualified. And I think it was around 1999 was the last time I played Elves in a tournament. I really enjoyed it, but...
Not your style?
No, I like it.
There's no lightning bolts in it.
There's always been something else that I've liked to play more.
Name me lightning. Now that there's no lightning bolt in Standard, though, you have to play other things.
Stonewright. Yeah, I do have a mono red beatdown deck in Standard I've been playing on Magic Online. It's not quite good enough, but it's fun.
Stonewright probably suffers from the same problem that there's this card called Gut Shot.
It does. Though you'd be surprised how often you get to just fireball someone with Stonewright. You lay the Stonewright and then hit them with a vampire that gets Stonewrighted up.
Right.
Caleb Durward on the draw here. It's a big difference for Joe Bernal being able to have a potential for Thoughtseize or Inquisition, and then still on turn 2 have another one of those if he's lucky, and a Swords.
Well, yeah, this is definitely a matchup that's good for Elves, for the record. Or at least I really enjoy playing the matchup from the Elf side of it. The other deck, things that Elves, it's one of those combo decks which is very good against the fair decks of the format, but a little too slow against, say, some of the other combo decks of the format. Reanimator, in particular, not a very good matchup for Elves. Joe Bernal is heading down to 6 cards. Caleb keeping us down.
Well, the big fear for a deck like Elves against Reanimator is just get an Elesh Norn into play, says Reanimator.
Right.
And Elves goes...
They die. All right, I die.
Wah.
Yeah. I remember, I played Elves last time we were here in St. Louis at the Legacy Open. In my very first round, I remember losing the die roll. My opponent playing Flooded Strand Go. It's like, all right, well, I have my good draw. Forest Land where I goes, well, end step I'll entomb this Aluren, untap, animate dead. He showed me his hand with Daze and Force of Will in it, and I was like, well, that was okay. And I remember thinking to myself, why did I ever decide to play a deck without Force of Will in it? Not that it would have even mattered.
I think I see a glimpse of nature in Caleb's hand. And Caleb here shuffling Joe Bernal's deck before passing it back to him. Joe looks a little tired. He had a long day yesterday. Not as long as Caleb's.
Yeah.
Down to 6 for Joe.
Caleb hasn't lost a match in quite a while here in St. Louis.
It's true. Look at that. He's got a little smile on his face.
Remember, both these players, 2 wins from the top 8.
These guys, they go out to dinner together. You know, these are guys from the Chicago area. Joe, I think, is a little bit east of that, but he might actually be from Chicago as well. No, but I've definitely... Oh, there's the swords.
Just swords, whatever he does. Especially if you're going to play a turn 2 Mystic, just swords it. Which I think it looks like...
Another swords in hand. Dark Confidant. Ouch. This is a dangerous moment. If Caleb doesn't put out a lot, that Bob can just take over.
Right. He's going to play Thalia. So Caleb
shortcutting a little bit there, which is just fine if your opponent agrees.
Well, it's fine because it's not a legal play. Yeah. You can verbally say getting Savannah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, a couple people seen walking by winning. Our Merfolk player from last round, still in it. Ryan Overturf, still also at X1. Maybe you'll see one of them break it back into the top 8. Both of them have previous top 8 experience. You know, both these players also doing very well. Joe Bernal and Caleb Durward.
Thalia, a 1-of in the board for Caleb Durward. You can see an Enlightened Tutor in Joe Bernal's hand. Stoneforge Mystic.
Bernal's hand's very good.
Swords to Plowshares.
Yep.
Joe comes in for 2.
Swords, such a strong card against Elves.
No third land for Joe. There's a Glimpse, Horizon Canopy, Visionary, Green Sun Zenith. Caleb draws a card. Looks like a crop rotation. Yep, crop rotation.
I think we're going to see Canopy for Cradle, probably. Or you could see a Zenith for Dryad Arbor, but I think Canopy for Cradle is the correct direction.
Canopy, 1 green,
okay,
gets Dryad Arbor.
Dryad Arbor, all right.
Getting out mana acceleration here. Next turn, a Glimpse is going to be very powerful.
Yeah, if you're going to set up for a big Glimpse turn, then this is exactly what you need to do, is just get lands in play. And then he can crop rotate into a Gaia's Cradle once that happens. And that will pump his Cradle. This is correct.
Back to Joe.
All right.
After this shuffle, anyway.
Joe, a little short on lands. Been a little heavy on swords, which has been good, but he's gonna need to do something. Caleb's building up for bigger combos now. Snapcaster Mage comes from Joe Bernal. His second draw was a land, so he can snap a swords if he needs to.
Enlightened Tutor in the hand can fetch Engineered Explosives and Umezawa's Jitte, which is already in hand.
I'm pretty sure leaving up Snapcaster Swords is probably the play here. It's the most disruptive thing you can do. It may not be disruptive enough.
And then next turn, land Jitte.
Hopefully. there's a lot of hope going on in that play because you're hoping that during Caleb's Glimpse turn that a symbiote didn't show up or something that denies GT counters.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, by a Snapcaster main phase to hit the Dryad Arbor.
Maybe. Probably hit the Visionary first.
I would hit the Arbor. The Arbor's more
Arbor
mana.
makes mana. So he's instead going to Stoneforge. I don't like that play as much. Unless you actually have a Swords in your hand. So he already has a GT, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Unless I missed it.
Second GT. Yeah, I don't like that as much then.
I think Caleb is in real command right now.
Absolutely. Now Caleb plays 2 Gaia's Cradles, so he still, if he starts to combo, won't drop his land right away, in the hope that he can Cradle and then maybe crop rotation Cradle into Cradle. So he's going to start out. He's going to declare his intentions for the turn with a Glimpse of Nature.
Let's get going.
This can only mean one thing. It is time. Nettle Sentinel. Cool. Spell Pierce check. I mean, there will be one when he tries. I mean, Spell Pierce check's probably already done. He didn't Spell Pierce the Glimpse.
Land for the turn. Fetching.
Curious. I'm curious what he's playing that he needs to fetch right now, as opposed to waiting for a possible natural Cradle draw.
Savannah comes out. Visionary. Drawing 2 cards.
So he still needs a Heritage Druid. But yeah, I mean, there's no disruption in Joe Bernal's hand because he didn't keep the Snapcaster, and he does draw a Heritage Druid.
I think we're going to see a crop rotation. Or if there is, you said you saw a Heritage Druid?
Yeah, he
then
drew
never
a
mind.
Heritage. We're going to see a Heritage
There's the
Druid.
Heritage Druid. Okay, so he does not need to crop rotate yet. A lot of mana here.
Still don't understand the fetch right away. Maybe he was just he had determined that this was the line he wanted, so he was deck thinning.
I think Joe is trying to fake like he has Swords to Plowshares or some other removal in his hand, so that Caleb might perhaps be too conservative or something.
Perhaps. Caleb still gets the lands off this. If not, Caleb's almost certain to win right here. I think Joe got a little aggressive by playing the Mystic there. Snapping a Swords would be very relevant right here. We're thinking that Joe has a Path to Exile in his hand.
Card draw happens for Caleb. 3 mana.
4 in his hand, so 3 green in Caleb's pool. When he tries to cast something, he'll get priority. That untap's going to happen.
Hold on, he says.
He's holding, he says,
trigger.
Wait on the untap trigger, and the Elf is not in play either. Okay. Joe going to path the Heritage Druid. Alright, so, if he's still remembering the untap.
There's a forest there. Tundra from Joe Bernal to cast that Path to Exile. 2 mana floating from Caleb Durward. Remember, he still has crop rotation in hand and a card draw coming. Untap, says Caleb. Draw, says Caleb. It all works. Fetch land drawn, not great. 2 mana still in pool.
Alright, so has the land, the untap. And Joe Bernal's on F6. See if Caleb can finish the job. Caleb with 2 green mana in his pool. Crop rotation, so he can make a lot of green mana if he needs to. It's almost certain it's time to do that. So Len
Gets rid of that
path.
forest that he found from the Path to Exile.
Yeah, he's gonna go get a Dryad Arbor. Not Dryad Arbor, Gaia's Cradle.
Gaia's Cradle. The Cradle currently making 5 mana.
Yep. Remember to count the Dryad Arbor in there, so that is 5. So now Caleb Durward, with 1 in his pool, access to 6 mana. He does not appear to have any more creatures in his hand. I don't believe. Thorn.
That leaves
fun's
him with
over.
5 mana left and passing the turn, I think. Bob says...
Now, if he had crop rotation earlier, he would have been afforded himself the option to Horizon Canopy to draw a card during that turn and possibly continue the combo.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
Well, it depends on what this last card is.
right, it would have given him +1 card. It doesn't mean he would have finished the combo. Probably not, but it gives him more to work with.
I mean, there were 5 wasted mana at the end of that turn.
Yeah.
We have a fetch from Joe Bernal. Gives him the 4 mana he needs to drop the Umezawa's Jite into play and equip it to Dark Confidant. Equip, attack. What do you do about this attack? Do you block with the Nettle Sentinel, or do you let it hit you? The Nettle Sentinel block gives you 3 cards lost for the Dark Confidant being killed.
And the Confidant doesn't really matter anymore, is the thing. What is that last card in his hand? It's the Mirror Entity, correct?
Yeah.
Well, I think you try to keep all your creatures alive. You're playing for a big mirror, and you're playing for Mirror Entity.
There we go.
Yep.
Now, if you're
Bob
Joe,
doesn't matter anymore.
If you're Joe, what do you do here? Do you off one of these elves right away?
No. Well, you know that Caleb doesn't have any more elves in hand. Caleb didn't, based on how Caleb ended his last turn, you know that Caleb doesn't have too much going on. Can go either way. If you're worried about Regal Force,
Green Sun Zenith.
Yeah, Zenith for force. What's going to happen here is you're going to see Mirror Entity, and then Caleb just to try to go to town.
1, 2, 3. Mirror Entity. The card that Caleb drew from the draw phase was a Findhorn Elf.
What I like about the counters on Jite is it stops Mirror Entity from really pumping to a large number. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana available. So the best that Caleb can actually do on a pump is to make his team 3/3s. So he can only, well, actually that's good enough. Actually, Caleb. So here's how Caleb can win this. First, he makes his team 3/3s. In response, Joe might try to murder. So then in response to that, Caleb makes his team 2/2s. If Joe in response tries to murder into that, Caleb makes his team 3/3s. That one will resolve first. I guess the 2 GT counters will resolve. So then Joe will drop to a 1.
1, 2, 3. Oh, he's counting it out for us. 7 mana.
So the Dryad Arbor died there? Okay, it got
There we go.
killed. So 7 mana floating right now for Caleb Durward.
I think Joe's dead.
Yeah, that play I think makes Joe dead. Well,
I think no play would have actually made him live.
correct.
That's it.
Yeah.
Caleb attacks, kill ya.
Yep. Attack there, it does exactly 15.
You don't have to combo off if you just kill him.
No, Mirror Entity is good. Well, Mirror Entity with Gaia's Cradle is very capable of doing that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Caleb Durward, 5-0, one. Essentially, what I would guess is one win from 2 straight top 8s. He's our standard champion. He's 5-0 in the Legacy Open.
You know, right now.
Krennic is playing Bug Delver. He's on your left. We are on game 3. Doyle Bledsoe on Aluren.
I haven't seen Aluren in a long time. That's awesome.
So, all right.
This is game 3
in
of
the
this
middle of game
match.
3 here. Aluren currently with a Pernicious Deed, it looks like, in play. Bug
Is that what that is?
I believe so.
Wow.
Yep, it's a promo Pernicious Deed. All right. So it appears the Bug Delver player, he's gotten Bob going, along with some Disruption in his hand. Appears to be in a pretty good position. He's going to have to force a deed to crack. Now, Krennic is sandbagging a Stifle for when that does happen. And that is the Cascade guy, right?
Yes.
It is Shardless Agent is his name. So it's going to cascade into... Alright. Cascade into... Well, 1 second here. Kind of missed. Sorry, we missed the cascade there. What it's into. Thinking Coiling Oracle. Okay.
Okay.
We have Cavern. Okay, it looks like we have Cavern Harp. Okay, into Cavern Harpy possibly. Alright, so Cavern Harpy, creature with gating. Okay, he was into Living Wish, and Cavern Harpy... Okay, and Cavern Harpy is being cast, is being found with Living Wish.
Gotcha. Oh, he's darn it all.
Yes, he's stifling the Pernicious Deed. And
says go. There's an edict also.
At least now he knows what he gets. He gets the Shardless Agent. Heads back over. Untap from Alex Krennic. Top of library is a Polluted Delta.
Looks like he's drawing a Nature's Claim.
And
Go to
swings
1,
for 5,
Doyle
puts Doyle to
Bledsoe.
1. That means... Yep.
Cavern Harpy, not so good when you're at 1 life.
No, not too much. Doyle seeing if he has a play here. He's going to play another deed.
Another Stifle in
Another
hand.
Stifle in Alex Krennic's hand.
Deed.
Deed for 2, Stifle again.
Wow.
And will that be it?
He's like, are you dead?
And there we
and
go.
You're dead.
All right, so just caught you on the tail of that. Alex Krennic defeats Doyle Bledsoe.
That was a quick one. Alex Krennic here
Games on, so yeah.
just has all of the answers to the responses that Doyle had here. Doyle's Pernicious Deeds, he does run 2 of those main, and that was both of them. None in the sideboard, so he just happened to have those cards available right when, unfortunately, his opponent, Alex Krennic, had Stifles to stop it. It was a very fast drop 2 in that match. We were in the middle of that game 3, and those players, both X and 1, Doyle Bledsoe now X and 2.
Small number, if you're just over a threshold, your last one will be almost all draws.
Interesting. Okay, we've got looks to me to be a kind of an Esper deck that's Tombstalkery. This Stoneblade deck we see from Jeff is not exactly Stoneblade. It does have Tombstalker, Dark Confidant, Stoneforge Mystic, Thalia.
And Jeff Hoogland, I think top 32'd yesterday. We saw him on camera. He was playing a 5-color control deck. Kind of a homebrew player. I was talking to him a bit about his deck. He's pretty excited about it. It's a white-black. He's playing white-black essentially here. He's playing a U.S. national team's member, Alex Bynick.
There we go. Don't you? Was Alex the one you owed some information to?
I
a shout out perhaps, or was that somebody else?
Thank you for keeping me out, reminding me.
Jeff Hoogland fetches with his Verdant Catacombs. Alex with no response. Alex does not have any Stifles, but Jeff doesn't necessarily know that. Jeff getting a Scrubland. Following with a Swamp and a Hymn to Turak. Turak, if you prefer. What does that do? Well, 2 cards at random go away.
Yeah, something they would probably
brainstorm in response.
Random discard really can be brutal. So Alex using Brainstorm to hide the cards in his hand that he really wants to make sure he keeps. Records here, by the way. Jeff Hoogland is 5-0 right now. Alex Bynick, 4 wins and a draw. Jeff will most likely be in top 8 with a win here. Alex may still need to battle some.
Force of Will, always one of those cards that is a strange response to Hymn to Turak. Another land for Alex Bynick. Fetching a Tundra.
So Alex Bynick's deck is, as I said before, it's just straight Stoneblade. He actually is playing a little bit of a counterbalance package. 2 counterbalance, 2 counter spell, 3 tops. So yeah, and he does have the Terminus, though no Entreat the Angels. So a little bit of the Miracles Stoneblade. All right, so back to Jeff Hoogland. So yeah, he's searching out Umazao Jite for Bynick. So
and Jeff cuts.
Joe Panaccio. That is the player who I've been owing this to.
Swords to Plowshares from Jeff Hoogland on Alex Bynick.
Swords and Wasteland, setting Alex back a bit. Jeff really a resource denial strategy going on here. Jeff and his, Jeff's trying to essentially grind people out with Hymn to Turak, Lingering Souls, Dark Confidant, Stoneforge Mystic, and he's got the Dark Confidant in play now. Bynick will almost certainly need to remove that. He is playing 4 Swords to Plowshares and 3 Terminus. That's about it. Remember, Terminus is actually a fine answer here because of Divining Top. Terminus will always be a miracle in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, that is
and
a lot of
one
casting cost removal.
Yeah.
John McDaniel and Zach Fowler.
Only 3 cards left for Jeff. The thing about a Sensei's Divining Top in a matchup like this where you can kind of grind things down, every draw being successively exactly what you want it to be, it adds up fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And there's the fetch land. It was 2 cards down, but now he draws it instead of drawing a non-land. Fetches, shuffles away those cards he didn't like. Two mana here. Can cast Stoneforge Mystic if he has it in hand, and otherwise save up for Sensei's activation or casting a spell.
He's just going to cast the GT that the Stoneforge Mystic found earlier. Remember, in this matchup, Jeff really needs to be the one putting on pressure here.
It's like Inquisition.
Yeah.
Snappy.
Snap or snap.
Which one do you want to
Sure.
get? The one on the left.
A lot of times you have
the one on the right.
You have to assume that Hoogland needs to become the aggro deck here. I'm not totally. He's kind of an aggro deck. He's kind of just a black-white grinding deck. The bigger problem is that when it comes to games of grinding, few colors compete with blue on how well you can grind. Alright, so untaps, so Bionic will play this, cast Snap, cast your Mage.
And a Swords.
Sure. He's not letting him get anything to put that GT on, but he's going to snap the Brainstorm.
Brainstorm.
This is what I mean when I was saying, few colors compete with blue on grinding. Alright, so we have Brainstorm resolves. Now Bionic will take his turn. He'll start out by topping.
Oh, there's the counterbalance. Yikes.
And no Vindicates in Jeff Hoogland's deck. May cause an issue for him. So countertop now in play. Bionic at 21.
Ouch. This is rough for a deck like Jeff's, which is intended to kind of grind things out. His real ways to escape a counterbalance lock looks like Tombstalker times 2,
Sure.
Batterskull times 1.
Yeah, Tombstalker really can't, be counterbalanced. And he's going to go for Lingering Souls. I don't know if there's a 3. Bionic's a little short. He has Vendilion Clicks, and that's it for 3s. See if he finds one. No, he does not. So I think some souls will linger, but there is a Batterskull on its way now. Sorry.
Souls looks like it's resolving.
Yep, 2 1/1s for Hoogland.
Not really Pegasus, but who cares?
Lingering Pegasy. Alright.
And Alex's turn, and to turn yet another instant. We got Brainstorm. What do we got there? Now, the Alex Binnick's deck. Gosh.
He's really just setting up a long game with countertop here. He has a Wasteland going. Now he's going to cast that Batterskull he'd found.
Counterbalance. Yeah, countertop Stoneblade. It's a possibility.
Liliana of the Veil, yeah.
It's like just one of these. Oh, Liliana is out there. Looks like that's going to take care of a Germ. Goodbye, Germ.
And he's going to... Yeah, Liliana came down, so now he's out a Germ token. Not too big of a problem. The fact that the Liliana has resolved does give Hoogland a little bit of life in this game.
Absolutely. I actually really like the art of those Pegasus for his tokens here. Swamp is fetched by Jeff Hoogland. Normally, getting out countertop and counterbalance and Sensei's Divining Top would be enough to lock out a lot of decks, but Jeff is able to be in this with his 3s, yeah. Liliana of the Veil and Lingering Souls.
There's a fair number of 3s, and he also has these 2 Tombstalkers, which all can work together. Remember, even when flashed back to Lingering Souls, there's still a 3, despite the fact he's only paying 2 for it. Alright. So he's going to switch the top for another Wasteland. He's going to crack the Waste... Yeah, discarding, and he's going to discard the Wasteland to Liliana. Not really want to get rid of his hand. It has a Spell Pierce and a Force of Will in it. Bynek's hand a little weak here. He's going to just run the Batterskull swap, but that means his top will be down for a turn. He won't have one. Spell Pierce on
the flash on the Lingering Souls.
Right.
Go ahead. Back to Alex Benek. So 1/2 got out.
Divining Top back into play. And Alex has to be careful. Well, no, there's no way that the Liliana will ever snag the Batterskull. Last card, Force of Will, it's gone.
Yeah. In for 4.
Spell Pierce in there because he really doesn't have any other plays to do on a Lingering Souls.
There's a Terminus, oh boy.
Yeah, he's going to keep that on top just in time for a miracle. Goblins got to watch out. Talia, that's probably fine. We'll just let that resolve. He knows he has what he has coming up. I'm surprised he didn't bounce Batterskull on end step. All right,
there it is.
All right, there it is.
Bounce it.
Actually,
I don't like
he shouldn't do that at all. He's going to lose that Batterskull to Liliana of the Veil. I don't think he's realized what. I don't. Well, no. He has a top in play. He has a top in play, so he doesn't have to lose it to the Liliana. I'll be fair.
Yeah. Still, that Terminus is pretty rough.
Yeah. Liliana,
well, let's discard. Well, I'm going to look at my top, find something bad.
He's going to spin and bury the top.
There we go. The counterspell's not very good here.
No, not really. Most of it is too... Well, counterspell's okay. If he can grab control of the board. We're still assuming right now... I mean, the problem is that Bynek... the Batterskull doesn't actually race the Liliana. They'll just trade with each other indefinitely. He needs to have something to break that parity of Batterskull versus Liliana.
Goodbye, top. And a Bob. Oh, wow.
Now, what did he leave on top? Not a 2, I'm
Not
assuming.
a 2.
And that counterbounce really not doing its work.
And Jeff Hoogland is pushing through this. We see the Batterskull.
Yeah, somehow we've gotten to this point where, you know, this countertop's just really not working.
And Bob says,
"Oh, whoa, a lot of damage." That's fine. He's more than happy for that that happened.
Oh boy, that was pretty okay.
A little bit of a painful. It's what, 8?
That was a lot of damage. I believe 8. Yes.
Yeah.
Liliana says, "Go away, germ." In comes Bob.
Do you have any 8s on top of your deck? No. Okay.
How about we get rid of some of this stuff? Ah, that stuff was
escaping
fine.
from under this countertop. All right, Bynek on the draw.
Hey, there's the top again.
He can get a fresh deck if he wants, but he's going to have to draw some swords or
Bob
something.
says swords.
Bynek in a really rough spot.
Tombstalker and Bob, come on in. Bob, the Dark Confidant. Let's look at top. Maybe there's a Terminus in there somewhere. Counterspell, not so great.
No, we're gonna crack a fetch and maybe spin the top again. Jeff drops to 10. Soon to drop to 3 unless he can find some reprieve.
You know, I'm sorry to be rooting against a member of the U.S. national team, but I will generally actively root against anyone playing countertop. So,
just in the sporting sense, you feel like they're not being very. They're not making the game very fun.
I like chalices, not countertop.
How do you?
The difference is that chalices don't take so much time up. If you're gonna lock me out, do it clean.
Oh, wow,
does
there
it.
He hits the Terminus.
Oh, boy. Well, that's unfortunate for Jeff.
Jeff will just have to keep on going here. He has 3 cards left in his hand. Yep, those go on the bottom. This was his first card drawn this turn.
We got 1 spot committed pod. If you have 100 cards,
Let's both discard. Goodbye,
Just
Chromox.
himself, yeah. Chromox not doing anything.
Hey, it's a top. What a
Redo
surprise.
Top, spin top.
Jace.
Cast Jace. All right.
Ouch. I think Jace beats Liliana. I'm sorry, Liliana.
And that was a great fetch land for Binax. So he found a top 3 with a Jace and a Terminus in it. I mean, that's the cool part about fetch lands in top, is eventually you will find that Jace and the Terminus. The Terminus needed to happen right away. The Jace, now that's just helping Alex really take control of the game. And he's probably gonna, if I were playing with Jace, the question is, do you brainstorm or do you start Fate Sealing here? Probably brainstorm.
Discard.
Probably just always brainstorm.
Draw. 2 cards in hand for Jeff. Brainstorm.
And he has his replacement Jace ready to go, and a counter spell.
And a Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I would want to. He's gonna abandon the counter spell. I don't really like that. Alright, so he keeps Mystic. Looks like he keeps Stoneforge and counter spell. I don't actually see a reason to cast that you need Stoneforge here. I mean, I guess it's pretty good, so you can do all instant speed things with Batterskull.
Draw.
He's gonna
card.
say he's not gonna. He's gonna deny the trigger on. He's gonna shuffle. Okay. So Binac with a counterspell in hand, Stoneforge Batterskull going. I feel like he's pulled out of this. Jeff's gonna be hard pressed to get this game.
So I think we're going to see an edict on that Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge Mystic of Jeff's own. Let's look to see what's on top. It's a new set of cards. Any 2s? There's a 2. 2.
Alright, Stoneforge Mystic does not resolve.
Scoops
Hoogland's
it up.
gonna scoop it up.
That
Good
was a
call.
good fight, though, Jeff.
Good fight, and I think a good time to scoop also.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things, he could keep playing this out and take the time it takes for Alex to beat him, and then be down 15 more minutes.
The Mind Sculpt
and not
isn't
be able
play.
to finish. You know, I mean, I'm not saying he's got. I'm talking about he might
you're
play
right.
through the garbage time, but
Right,
that's not
you
what you want to do. You want to finish this match.
Absolutely. Really smart move there by Jeff Hoogland.
Both players sideboarding now. Now, what do you think about Jeff's moment where he laid the Tombstalker without any other threats in his hand? I think that the Dark Confidant by itself would have required a
Constitute a
Terminus.
big enough threat?
Yeah. And Sand,
You know, I agree. Well, I agree. The only thing Jeff's racing is the possibility of flipping another Tombstalker and then killing himself with Bob. But he always... And Liliana only makes an opponent edict, so I'm not worried about that so much.
Alex Benek with a difficult deck to categorize. It has elements of the countertop deck, elements of the Miracles deck, which is really a countertop deck, oftentimes, usually, and then it has Stoneblade elements, so...
It's a blue-white deck. I would
Yeah.
still call it, you know, as the Mystic package. So I'd still call it a Stoneblade deck, and then just say, oh, he's running top. In the same way that some, you know, so we've seen Rug Delver decks run countertop out of the board before, I believe. So it's like, you know, and you still call them Rug Delver. I would still say he's playing Stoneblade.
Jeff Hoogland on the other side of the table. I was really impressed by how much he was able to fight that game. I mean, Alex actually had to do a lot in order to be able to get back into that game after achieving counterbalance top against a clean board.
Right.
Sideboard-wise, surgical extraction.
All right, so we're looking at Jeff Hoogland's deck. I do not like.
I don't like
I
it.
do not like surgical extraction.
I don't either. I'm just trying to figure out cards that are actually that exist for him.
He has a Manriki
Dasari
board, which I actually pretty want. I do like against him. It doesn't really get him out from under the countertop, but it does stop a lot of the win cons.
What about also his own Umuzawa's Jite number 2, since he's in a Jite fight in theory?
I don't actually want to draw a Jite, and I don't know if the Jite fight isn't. I don't know if it's the end all here.
From Alex.
The second one's probably okay. There's a couple other. That'd be mainly what I would see out of him.
From Alex Benek, I expect to see Crucible of Worlds coming into this.
Yeah, this is a grindier matchup. Certainly, recurring wastelands seems pretty good. Though Hoogland does have plenty of basics to not really. You can't waste Hoogland out of the game, but you can maybe get some good tempo with it. Other things, yeah, that I expect to see from Alex Benek. I don't know. I'm looking at the deck. Oblivion Ring. I think I like Oblivion Ring here.
It does answer, for example, a Tombstalker or a Liliana should either get into play.
Right.
Looking at the lists, I do think Alex Benek has way more ways to interact with Jeff. I do like Alex in this match.
Well, yeah, I think I was saying before, they still are both essentially grinding, but Alex is playing the blue cards. Alex's Planeswalker gets to be Jace. And Jeff's Planeswalker is Liliana. In that fight, Jace is king in that fight. Alright, turn 2, we are going to see from Jeff Hoogland, double black, probably a Hymn to Turok. Let's see if he can maybe...
There aren't very many Planeswalkers that fight well against Jace. Koth, Tezzeret,
Elspeth Knight Errant.
Elspeth, yeah.
I don't know about Elspeth Terrell, but Elspeth Knight Errant fights very well. Well, Terrell probably does too, but Knight Errant better. Hymn to Turok.
Goodbye Terminus and land? I can't quite tell. Fetch.
Benek will fetch. Looks like it appears what will be a Stoneforge Mystic is my guess. Yep, both basics. Doesn't want to get wastelanded here. Yep, Stoneforge. Switching up. It was Terminus plus Tundra.
Yep.
Yep.
There's the Jite.
Third line of Hoogland. His white is now online.
Fetch.
I think he's just going to get more basics. No real reason to get fancy here. Yeah, so he gets a plains. He passes deck back to Alex. Two
mana. Thalia.
Thalia, an okay card in the matchup. It messes with a lot of the things that Alex does, I suppose.
Are you still playing this tournament?
Alex says go, just waiting on his own activation.
Right, essentially casting Jite this turn, but just doing it in a more sneaky sort of way.
You see Sensei's Divining Top for 2 from Jeff Hoogland. And Umazawa's, Batterskull in hand.
In hand. The old fake out play. So.
The 4th land. This will allow him to drop the Jite, equip it, and as long as there's not a Source of Plowshares in the mix. And Jeff just throws Thalia in the way.
Yeah, but that's still going to give the Jite counters. Looking really bad here for Jeff Hoogland.
Top.
So no,
Liliana,
remember,
I believe.
Alex Binek at XO and 1. Jeff Hoogland at 5-0. There are 5 players at 5-0 with 3 rounds remaining. So we'll have what looks like 2 or 3 undefeated players.
Inquisition of Kozilek. Swords, Mystic, Jace.
Alright. Really just kind of a loaded hand. Jeff's having trouble dealing with Alex's board even, and then the hand is a whole nother set of problems.
I mean, Black-White's answers to a card like Jace are Vindicate and the attack phase.
Yeah. He's not actually playing Vindicate.
Right. Nor Oblivion Ring, the, we'll say, inferior Vindicate?
Yeah, I would say in general he's pretty soft to Jace in his deck list.
In comes the Batterskull and the Mystic.
And the Mystic.
Block. Take one.
Okay. Takes one. Up to 4 GT counters. And he'll go with the Mind Sculptor. And that's pretty rough. At this point, I actually, as I said last time, I'm using brainstorm. I actually would contemplate Fate Sealing right now.
I could be totally wrong with how I play these things out, but I do brainstorm a lot with my Jaces.
I do too. I mean, I'm just in this situation. Alex's hand is already and board are already superior.
Like I said, I could overdo these things.
Okay, yeah.
I just love those cards. I'm like, oh, brainstorm again?
I mean, one of the cool things about Jace, or uncool things, is that, you know, he's very hard to play, and that finding his the correct decision to pick is very difficult. But the forgiving part is that even when you pick the wrong one, it's probably okay because they're all good.
Jeff extends the hand. He knows what's going to happen with Jace there. He can't push back through it.
Well, Alex Benek wins 2 games to 0, advances to 5 wins and 1 draw. Jeff Hoogland drops to 5 wins, 1 loss. Both players still alive for top 8 here in St. Louis.
Elliott looking over the shoulder of the players here. And we're joining this match already in progress. Goblins on the left and Rug Delver on the right.
This one's playing Wild Nicatl in Rug Delver. Yeah.
Ooh, I missed that guy.
Andrew Fenewald. We have over here. So he's playing a Rug Delver. He's playing Wild Nicatl, Delver of Secrets, Tarmogoyf, Nimble Mongoose, Scavenging Ooze. But yeah, he instead of playing the typical, he didn't like Mongoose much, so he's playing Nicatl, no actual white cards, just so those lands just to pump Nicatl to a 3/3.
I mean, I've definitely done that before. It can be effective. Yeah. Here comes the lackey. The lackey is allowed to hit. Oh my goodness, that always.
And now he's letting the lackey hit here, right? And that was a choice that Fenewald made.
That was a choice.
I don't
like that choice one bit.
So he's drawn, and that's Krenko Mob Boss, I believe. After Vile goes away.
There is a Krenko Mob Boss.
Yep, Krenko Mob Boss, Goblin Chieftain, Goblin Pile Driver.
It's possible. I mean, Goblins is off the radar in a lot of ways. A lot of people don't realize just how scary a lackey hit is. I mean, you're basically saying, hey, have a free Seething Song.
Yeah, sometimes, yes.
And Blake says go. I believe upkeep we might see...
No port.
No port. He's saving it up for a incinerator, perhaps?
Yeah, it does look that way.
Okay. The trigger on the...
Delver flips off Tribal Flames. So an interesting build here by Andrew Fenwald. He's kind of merging Rug Delver and Zoo, like some older Zoo decks, which is I'm fascinated by his deck. He's down a game here. These players, for the record,
he does have Badlands in order to make his Tribal Flames work better too.
Both these players currently at 4-1, by the way, in the tournament. So playing for their tournament lives. And Tribal Flames this time comes down. That was right. The Tribal Flames there was just cast on the lackey.
Yes. Wow, I'm not sure.
I'm wondering what I'm still confused as to
what Blake did that last turn.
How is it that he cast that on unstep?
I don't know. Okay, what is just happening there? Why is...
Did you just end step a pile driver? So, and this is just going out of control. Krenko into Chieftain.
Krenko, make 4 guys.
Oh, he has Ether. Okay, there we go.
Oh, Aether Vial. Off the screen. That's kind of a big deal.
Very confused. 4 goblins with haste. And this swing.
Oh, wow.
Wow, just lethal here.
I'm pretty sure you're dead, Andrew.
An explosive play there by Blake Kettle.
Wah, 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 wah.
He
offers the handshake on the game 1. Or game...
It's game 2.
Game 2,
That's 2 games to 0. Blake Kettle defeats
0.
Andrew Fenewald. Coming out of nowhere. Explosive start there by Blake Kettle. Andrew learning on the hard way about, I suppose, letting a Delver hits. Well, maybe
Yeah.
it was the Delver end stepped there, possibly?
Maybe the lackey
It was
came at
the
EOT.
lackey, the lackey came in EOT off the vial.
That makes sense. That
That
makes
would
sense.
make more sense. Yeah.
Yeah.